women of the Channel Leadership Network. I'm Jackie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to another Woman of the Week. This week, I'm very excited to introduce you to Kaitlyn Llomas, National Capture Manager with Presidio. Hi, Kaitlyn. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Jackie. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yes, and I'm so excited to get to know you. So let's start off with the icebreakers. Where do you live and where did you grow up, if that's different?
Yeah, I live in North Carolina just for the past month. I was in Florida prior to that my entire life. So I was born and raised in Gainesville, North Florida area, and now I live in the beautiful state of North Carolina.
Awesome. How are you loving it so far?
I'm loving it. We moved from kind of a beautiful city to more of like the country area, and it has been absolutely wonderful. So
That sounds really nice.
Yes.
All right. What is a little known fact about you that you're willing to share?
That is a good question. I would say something back in the early days when we were all doing all the fun facts, I figured really need to figure out what my really good fun fact is. So I actually went free cage diving, so no cage, with bull sharks back around the pandemic time frame because that seemed like a really good idea. I made it out alive, but that is probably a little known fun fact about me. I always wanted to go cage diving, and we got there and they said, well, it'd really be better without the cage. So that's how that happened.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it would be really better for the sharks. That would be my absolute nightmare. You are so brave, and I am so glad that you lived to tell about that.
Me too. Yeah, the only one I got.
All right, well, let's dip into your career path and maybe tell us a little bit about that and how you reached your current position.
Absolutely. So I started off my tech journey in distribution. So I started off at Tech Data, now known as TD SYNNEX. And so I think that was a really great place to start. I was able to understand what the channel was from the vendor perspective and the distribution perspective. Mm-hmm. And I was in a bunch of different disciplines or different roles there: sales, operations, and then go to market and public sector. That's really where I got my, passion around the public sector industry. And then after 5 years, I was like, I really want to understand what it would be like to be a customer. I think it becomes difficult to communicate with customers when you don't really know what they're going through, So yeah. I moved into a role with a MSP, learned a little bit about, net new business development in the public sector space. And then I had an opportunity with Presidio, which is where I am today. I've been there for the past 3 years in a public sector go-to-market sales strategy capacity. And I have been loving it ever since. I have a fantastic team there and really get to dive into some of my passions there as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love it when we have opportunities like that where we can kind of see, well, what's the perspective over here? And then you're coming over there with all of that knowledge, which I'm sure will just help you do an even better job for your customers.
Yeah, it really helps kind of connect the dots,
Mm-hmm.
So it's been great.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's do one of my favorites. What is something you've learned that you wish you knew earlier in your career?
That's a good question. There's two things that come to mind. That's a little known fact about me. When there's one question, I usually have two answers. One is that you're never going to feel ready the first time. The first time you give a big presentation or get on stage or sit down with CRN to do an interview, you're never going to feel comfortable. So get comfortable in the uncomfortable and know that everybody has those feelings. Push through it. That's how we grow. And that's something that I learned early on in my career, and that's really helped me personally. And then the other thing is really, especially in this virtual world that we're mostly in, I know a lot of people have gone back into office, but let's call it the virtual world that it is. Make sure that you're investing into your network and keeping connected with, old colleagues and different connections that you've made. I mean, I attest a lot of like my growth and the opportunities that I've had with the people that I've surrounded myself with and the people that I've grown to know. So I think that that's a really important thing to keep in mind is have a strong network, surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you, that are going to, inspire you and motivate you to grow, and just keep those connections right next to you.
That is both of them were great advice, Kaitlyn.
Thank you.
I'm going to take that and just that network and experiences that you had and kind of pivot into what are some experiences or perhaps transformational moments that you've had in your life?
Yeah, I would say professionally, my transformational moment, there's obviously everybody has a ton of them, but the most notable one would be becoming a leader. And I think everybody is a leader in their own regard. You don't have to be a manager or have some type of fancy title that gives you permission to be a leader. Everybody is a leader. But I think for me, it was becoming, getting into a leadership role and really having the opportunity to say, okay, what is the vision? What impact are we trying to make to the company? And then building out a team to support that. That was such a transformational moment for me. It was my first time being in a leadership role, and having that experience to, from A to Z, figure out how we're going to get there. And I think that it teaches you a lot about, from like a corporate or like a company wide perspective, like how, like the thought process, the evaluations, the strategy sessions. And that really has helped me become a better leader. So that was a transformational moment in my life. I think that early in my career, I wanted to become a leader. I had always been kind of drawn to that position. And I surrounded myself with people that were going to help mentor me, and tell me the challenges that could come that way and the skill sets that you would need to have to be a good leader. And so I think that was a really transformational moment for me. And then on a more personal note, this past January, I actually ran my first and probably my last marathon, just because it was something I just wanted to do. I don't see a real priority to do it a second time. But that was, wow, that was eye-opening in every way. I had never ran more than maybe 5 miles. And I could have easily said, I'm not a runner. I shouldn't do this marathon, right? But instead I said, you know what? If you can believe in yourself, if you can really envision yourself doing something and saying, hey, I'm going to dedicate time to training and I'm going to dedicate time to nutrition, you can do anything. It had nothing to do with fitness at all. It really had to do with, kind of those mental boxes that I think we can all put ourselves into sometimes. And so anytime I meet anybody, I try to encourage them to challenge themselves and get out of their comfort zones, get out of your own way kind of thing. So that was a really big moment in my life. I wasn't able to
Ah,
for a few days, but it was a big moment. Yeah.
Kaitlyn, just from what I've learned of you, you are a risk taker. You will, take on even in the uncomfortable. You're just like, I'm in. Point me in the direction. I'm going for it. I love that about you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, big risks, big rewards,
Yes.
I think back to anything that I've been like the most afraid to do. I mean, I say that within reason, right? But has gotten me closer to my goals, my dream jobs. Like, it is, I just think that that's where we kind of need to be, So, and it's hard to get there, but signing up for things like that, it definitely helps.
Oh, I love that. Kaitlyn, it was such a pleasure getting to know you. And thank you again for allowing us to celebrate you as our Woman of the Week.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Appreciate you having me.
There you go, community members. Please, please, please comment, give Kaitlyn your high fives. Just, give her a little bit of feedback, share your insights. I'm sure she'd love to hear your stories too, especially if they have something to do with some incredible risks. Until next time, happy Wednesday.